Now, so there's another question, like I said, related to this, which is, why does Scientology use a cross? And it's funny, I was thinking about this today, and there's the way I thought about this and would have answered it when I was in Scientology, and there's the way I think about it and would answer it now. Now, my first answer is Scientology uses a cross to trick people into thinking there's something faith-based or Christian-like or mainstream about the Scientology belief system. Period, full stop. That's why they use a cross. Now, a Scientologist would say, why does Scientology use a cross? And they would go, Scientology's 8-pointed cross represents the 8 dynamics of existence as laid out by L. Ron Hubbard. And the 8 dynamics of existence are the various ways in which a person is trying to survive in life. And the first dynamic is self, and the second dynamic is family, and the third dynamic is groups, and the fourth dynamic is all mankind, and the fifth dynamic is plant and animals, and the sixth dynamic is the physical universe, and the seventh dynamic is spirituality and spirits individually, and the eighth dynamic is infinity or God. And the eighth dynamic being infinity or God is really just sort of a nod to the fact that L. Ron Hubbard recognized that people believe in God and this concept of infinity. And so he had to have that as one of the parts of life that people are involved in. And Scientologists like to point to the eighth dynamic as some sort of proof that Scientologists believe in God. But the proof that they don't believe in God is that they have another name for that dynamic, and that's the infinity dynamic. If you believed in a God, there would be no need to give that dynamic 2 names. So it was more like, we're going to call it the God dynamic because some people go that way, but in Scientology, we think more in terms of infinity and less in terms of a supreme being. Okay. So you'll notice, though, that the way a Scientologist would answer that question is actually a bit of a misdirector. So again, it would go, why does Scientology have a symbol of a cross? And they would go, Scientology's 8-pointed cross means blah, 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 blah. And you go, no, that's why the cross that you use has 8 points. The question was, why do you use a cross at all? And I guess I'll just take this opportunity to explain to any newcomers that in Scientology, the cross has literally 0 significance. There is absolutely no greater meaning to the cross as a symbol in Scientology whatsoever. Therefore, the only reason for Scientology to use a cross is to co-opt the religious symbolism of Christianity and mainstream religion in general. And I think it is incredibly offensive. I didn't think it was offensive when I was a Scientologist, obviously, because I was like, as a Scientologist, anything that is done or said that creates positive public relations for Scientology, makes people think any better of Scientology, makes anyone in the world more likely to get into Scientology, is considered good. It doesn't matter if it's dishonest or a half-truth or a little bit of weirdness here, some slipperiness here. I was like, yeah, we don't believe in this religion shit, but we sort of have to in order to trick people to walk in the door, and then they'll find out what Scientology is, and so it's all okay. Let's see. I lost my train of thought there again, you guys. My God. I'm just like too much turkey yesterday. Okay, I was talking about the difference between how a Scientologist would answer that question. Yeah, that's right. I was that the only purpose of using the cross is basically to trick people and deceive people. And it is almost it also serves another purpose, to sort of be able to use it as a weapon against critics. You're anti-religion. Well, how do you represent yourself as a religion? You have a cross as a symbol of your organization. Here's what's also interesting, and this had never quite occurred to me until I was thinking about this morning. Another reason why it's so silly that Scientology has this cross symbol, because Scientology has another symbol that actually represents Scientology, and it's the S and the double triangle. And I don't have my screen share set up right now, so I don't want to pull it up. But if you guys just Google Scientology symbol, you're going to see an S with 2 triangles. It's got a triangle on the top of the S and another triangle on the bottom of the S. And that is, to any Scientologist, the Scientology symbol. So then what the hell is the point of having a cross? Most people wouldn't have seen this image, but every now and then, when Scientologists really want to lean hard into the religion angle, they will have some of their members dress up in priest collars and a big silver chain with a big silver Scientology cross. And you would not know the difference between someone dressing up as a Scientology minister and someone dressing up as a Christian minister at first glance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason Scientology uses the cross. 8-pointed cross or otherwise, it's still a damn cross. And I don't know, for you Christians out there, let me know. Like, does Scientology's explanation for why they use an 8-pointed cross, does that satisfy you in any way? And you're like, well, we don't really own the cross, and the cross as a symbol predated Christianity. I've heard all sorts of explanations. Christians don't really have, ownership of that symbol, and many groups have used that symbol, and it predates it. And technically, the version of the cross that Scientology uses is more like the Rosicrucian cross or something. I'm probably getting the word wrong, but there's some. Let me Google it so I can see the image. There is some type of cross that was a little bit. Let me see. What's the Rosicrucian cross? Is that it? Oh, the rose cross. That's not really it though, is it? Oh yeah, Rosicrucianism, which I don't even know what that means, but that's okay. I don't know. Did Rosicrucianism predate Christianity? I don't know. The rosy cross. Yes, it's an occult symbol. Yes, look at that. If you guys Google rosy cross or rose cross, my God, it looks like the Scientology cross came right from that, and that is an occult symbol. But L. Ron Hubbard never explained it that way in the literature of Scientology. All right, let me Google this. What groups used the cross as a symbol before Christianity? Origin of the cross. The cross is not a symbol of faith, which first appeared after the crucifixion of Jesus, but originated from ancient Babylon. Chaldea was the central territory of Babylon. In Babylon, T, the initial of the name Tammuz, was used as a religious symbol to worship him. But I'll tell you what, if L. Ron Hubbard had ever actually given that explanation in the text, we'd be having a different conversation. But no, as a Scientologist, I always knew we used the cross in order to look churchy, and to be cute about it, we used an 8-pointed cross and said it represented Scientology's 8 dynamics. There you go. It could have been 8 of anything. It could anyway. And so, yes. And as a Scientologist, I would also tell you that I personally would always identify the S and double triangle more closely with Scientology than I would the Scientology cross. Because to me, it was always clear to me, and I'm speaking for myself, maybe for other former Scientologists, maybe would have a different answer. I always identified the Scientology cross as more like, we're being cute. But the S and double triangle, I was like, that's the Scientology symbol, not really the Scientology cross. And I got to tell you, here in Clearwater, Florida, it's a very religious state. It's a very religious portion of the state, very religious portion of the country. The Church of Scientology in downtown Clearwater has a giant, like 400, 500,000 square foot building in downtown Clearwater. That's like 7 stories, and on the tippity top of the building is a tower, and on the top of the tower is a giant cross overlooking basically the entire city. And as you're driving, to Clearwater mainland from Clearwater Beach, you see this giant cross. And I guess this would be a question for Christians in Clearwater, but Christians in general. Would you be horribly offended if you're in this area, you see this giant church, it's got a cross on top, you find out, what is that? Oh, it's a Scientology church. Oh, Scientologists don't even believe in Jesus. In fact, L. Ron Hubbard said that Jesus was an angry pedophile, and that the whole God thing is a myth, and that L. Ron Hubbard is the Antichrist. And of course, we can get into what he meant by all these things. But Scientologists, it's not only that it's incompatible with Christianity, it's anti-Christianity. L. Ron Hubbard said that he is the Antichrist. Now, we can have a conversation as to what he meant by that, because how can you be the Antichrist if you don't believe in Christ or the devil or anything? But if I was a Christian and I saw the tallest, biggest cross in the city was on a church that believes Jesus was an angry pedophile and not the Son of God, I feel like I'd have a problem with that. And yet, for some reason, Scientology has been somewhat successful in making interfaith partnerships with Christian organizations. And it's unbelievable to me. And, maybe one gift this Christmas season would be for people to take the truth about Scientology to any of these Christian groups that have formed interfaith partnerships with Scientology, and try to get the leaders of these Christian organizations that have done this to understand like what it is Scientology actually believes about Jesus. What does L. Ron Hubbard actually say about Jesus? What does L. Ron Hubbard say about religion in general? And in fact, in my where I live here in Clearwater, Florida, Pastor Willie Rice of the Calvary Baptist Church did exactly that a number of years ago. He held a very large meeting of about 200 Baptist ministers from all over Florida. And he had put together this amazing informational packet with every quote. I say every quote, like an awful lot of quotes from L. Ron Hubbard, from actual policies and lectures and books about what he really said about religion, all religions, but particularly Christianity and Jesus, and the quotes about the Antichrist and the fifth invader forces and all this kind of stuff. And he did like a 2-day training seminar with all of these Baptist ministers on what Scientology really is and what they really believe about religion and God and Christ, and how he believes that Scientology is truly a satanic force, a work of Satan. And he encouraged all of them to have their first several, ministries or masses or sermons in the new year to be specifically about how it is impossible to be a Christian and a Scientologist, and to beware of anyone who says otherwise, that they are working for the devil and they're trying to trick you. And I was honored to be a guest at this training seminar, and to get up and answer some questions about Scientology. But I'll tell you what, if Willie Rice at the Calvary Baptist Church can do that, a whole lot of other people out there can do that as well. It's been one of the most offensive things to me as a former Scientologist is to see Scientology successfully co-opt leaders of other religious groups by tricking them and lying to them about what Scientology actually believes.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.